If you were thinking about invading Croatia, don't, because what you'd be walking into isn't just a small Mediterranean nation with nice beaches and good wine, it's a rapidly modernizing NATO-backed fortress armed to the teeth with cutting-edge weapons, advanced air power, and one of the most disciplined defense strategies in Southeastern Europe. And the kicker? Every Croatian soldier is trained to make your invasion the worst vacation you've ever had. Welcome to the new era of Croatian defense. For a country that's faced some of the toughest wars in Europe's modern history, Croatia knows exactly what's at stake when it comes to defending the homeland. The 1990s Homeland War left deep scars, but it also left one powerful legacy: a national determination that no enemy will ever again cross Croatian soil uninvited. Today, that determination has evolved into strategy. Croatia's defense strategy for 2025 and its long-term development plan through 2036 outline a simple but powerful idea: never fight alone and never fight unprepared. The country's entire defense concept is built around integration across land, sea, air, and cyber domains, all while maintaining close alignment with NATO and EU doctrines. And they're putting real money behind it. By 2025, Croatia officially reached 2% of its GDP in defense spending, meeting NATO's target. But it doesn't stop there. Spending is projected to climb to 2.5% by 2027, 3% by 2030, and potentially 5% by 2035. To put that in perspective, that would make Croatia one of the biggest defense spenders per capita in all of Europe. A small nation with big guns, literally. So, what's all that money buying? Let's start with the skies, where Croatia has just gone from Cold War to cutting edge. The old MiG-21s, once symbols of a different era, have been retired. In their place, 12 gleaming Dassault Rafale F3R fighter jets, French-built multi-role powerhouses capable of dominating the Adriatic airspace. These jets can perform air superiority missions, precision strikes, and rapid intercepts. They're equipped with advanced radar, electronic warfare suites, and air-to-ground munitions that make them far deadlier than anything Croatia has ever flown before. In simple terms, if you plan to invade by air, you'll probably be meeting a Rafale before you ever see the Croatian coastline. And on the ground? That's where things get even more interesting. Croatia's army is undergoing a massive modernization effort centered around NATO standard heavy armor. 50 brand new Leopard 2 A8 main battle tanks are being delivered, the same model Germany is sending to its top-tier forces. Combine that with 89 Bradley M2A2 infantry fighting vehicles, and Croatia suddenly has one of the most advanced armored corps in the region. The Leopard 2 A8 is no joke. It's equipped with a 120mm smoothbore cannon, next-gen protection systems, and enough firepower to turn enemy armor into modern art. The Bradleys, meanwhile, bring mobility, troop protection, and integrated sensors that tie into NATO command systems. For long-range strikes, Croatia is introducing the HIMARS, the American-made rocket artillery system that became a household name during the war in Ukraine. With precision-guided missiles capable of hitting targets up to 80 kilometers away, Croatia can deliver pinpoint strikes deep into enemy lines. And when you combine that with Bayraktar TB2 drones, yes, the same Turkish-made drones that dominated the skies in multiple conflicts, you get a defense force capable of rapid detection, tracking, and elimination. Air, land, and sky, check. But what about the sea? The Adriatic is Croatia's pride, and now it's also one of its strongest defensive lines. The Croatian Navy is upgrading its coastal fleet, deploying new missile boats, advanced radar systems, and coastal surveillance networks. With more than 1,700 kilometers of coastline and over 1,000 islands, defending the Adriatic isn't optional. It's essential. New patrol craft are being fitted with anti-ship missiles and automatic cannon systems, ensuring that any vessel approaching hostilely will face a swift and decisive response. In short, the Adriatic is no longer just a tourist paradise, it's a maritime kill zone for anyone foolish enough to try a landing. But Croatia's new doctrine goes beyond the traditional battlefield. Modern war isn't just about tanks and jets anymore. It's also about data, signals, and deception. Croatia's new defense strategy includes robust cyber capabilities designed to counter hacking, electronic warfare, and disinformation campaigns. They're building systems to protect critical infrastructure, from energy grids to military networks, and investing heavily in early warning radar systems and secure communications. In the age of hybrid warfare, that digital shield is just as important as any physical one. Meanwhile, the Croatian armed forces, numbering around 15,000 active troops, are backed by a well-organized reserve force that can be mobilized rapidly in an emergency. And in 2026, Croatia is reintroducing mandatory military training for citizens aged 18 to 27. The goal? A nation of citizens who can fight, defend, and endure, a modern militia rooted in old Croatian resilience. Training has also shifted to meet modern challenges. Croatian troops now participate in regular NATO exercises, focusing on rapid deployment, electronic warfare, and joint operations. They're learning to fight alongside allies from the US, Germany, and Poland, ensuring full interoperability with the alliance's most advanced militaries. And that's really the key here. Croatia doesn't plan to fight alone. In the event of any attack, it would immediately trigger NATO's Article 5, meaning an assault on Croatia is an assault on the entire alliance. Reinforcements could pour in from nearby allies, including Italy, Hungary, and even US and British forces stationed in Europe. So, any invader wouldn't just face the Croatian army. They'd face NATO's combined power. Still, Croatia isn't relying purely on allies. The government is actively rebuilding its domestic defense industry. Local companies are producing ammunition, tactical gear, and vehicle parts. Part of a wider initiative to make Made in Croatia more than a slogan. This move strengthens the economy, creates jobs, and ensures that the country can sustain itself in a prolonged crisis without depending entirely on imports. And while technology and weapons are crucial, Croatia knows that the most powerful weapon is unity. Annual military parades, public preparedness campaigns, and civic education programs are all designed to keep morale high. In a nation where history has repeatedly tested its survival, the armed forces are more than just soldiers. They're symbols of national pride and sovereignty. The result is a society that sees defense not as a burden, but as a duty. So, if you're picturing Croatia as a small state that can be bullied or bypassed, think again. What stands today is a compact, smart, and tightly coordinated defense system that covers every domain, from fighter jets in the sky to firewalls in cyberspace, and from HIMARS batteries on land to radars sweeping the Adriatic waves. Invading Croatia isn't just risky, it's strategically irrational, because the moment the first hostile aircraft crosses its airspace, Croatia's early warning systems will detect it, NATO's command centers will light up, and the invader will suddenly find themselves on the wrong end of the Rafale's radar. Meanwhile, HIMARS launchers will already be calculating firing solutions, Bradleys will be taking up defensive positions, and the Leopards will be moving fast. Add in a well-trained citizen reserve and full NATO reinforcement, and the message becomes crystal clear. Croatia doesn't just defend its borders, it defends its identity. From the air to the sea, from the cyber realm to the streets of Zagreb, this is a country that has rebuilt itself from the ashes of war into a fortress of the Adriatic. So to any future aggressor considering an invasion, you might want to reconsider your plans. Croatia's not just guarding its homeland, it's guarding history, unity, and pride. And if you still think invading sounds like a good idea, well, let's just say you won't be leaving with any souvenirs, because this time, the homeland fights back and it's ready. If you thought Croatia was just islands, beaches, and ancient stone walls, think again. Because geography, alliances, and logistics have quietly teamed up to make this little country a defensive headache for anyone with bad intentions. In the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through exactly how Croatia's terrain, its maritime maze, and NATO's logistics turn any theoretical invasion into a strategic nightmare. Spoiler, you will not get a postcard back. Start with the map. Croatia is shaped like a crescent, hugging the Adriatic Sea, a coastline that's more complicated than a military planner's Sudoku. The country's 1,700 kilometers of coastline folds into more than 1,000 islands, narrow peninsulas, and deep indented bays. That means any amphibious force attempting a large-scale landing faces dozens of natural choke points, countless places to be ambushed, and more places to hide troops and sensors than you can count on a single reconnaissance flight. The geography favors defenders because it multiplies the number of locations an attacker must secure while stretching supply lines thin and exposing landing forces to interdiction from land, sea, and air. Now, layer in the terrain. Croatia's interior is a mix of karst plateaus, rugged hills, dense forests, and narrow river valleys. Moving heavy mechanized forces through that landscape is logistically painful. Roads wind through mountain passes and across bridges that can be denied, mined, or easily destroyed. Advance too fast and your columns get bunched up and vulnerable. Advance too slowly and you lose momentum and initiative. The terrain buys defenders time, and time is the most valuable commodity in any invasion. It lets reserves move, it lets NATO liaison elements coordinate reinforcements, and it turns every village into a potential defensive redoubt. Add the Adriatic itself as a defensive ally. Amphibious assaults are among the most complex military operations to execute, requiring synchronized naval gunfire, air cover, logistic ships, and secure beachheads. Croatia's coastline and islands mean an attacker must concentrate landings in a few suitable spots. Predictable spots. Those predictable spots are where defenders can concentrate their sensors, coastal missiles, and naval assets. The Croatian Navy is modernizing with patrol craft and missile boats optimized for littoral defense, and coastal surveillance is increasingly networked with national radars and NATO systems. That creates overlapping fields of detection and fire. In short, landing forces are likely to be spotted early and hit hard before they can establish a beachhead. Next, logistics and supply lines, the secret thread that unravels invasions. An invading army is not just soldiers, it is fuel, ammunition, spare parts, food, and medical supplies. Croatia's shape and infrastructure force supply convoys to follow predictable corridors, main highways, river crossings, and coastal routes. Those corridors can be targeted by precision fires, drones, or obstacles that make resupply hazardous and slow. Modern strike systems like HIMARS can reach deep and deny freedom of movement to supply chains. In other words, once defenders identify choke points, they can turn logistical lifelines into death traps. And this isn't hypothetical. Croatia secured procurement and approval for HIMARS and guided rockets to improve long-range precision strike capability, meaning their ability to interdict enemy logistics is strengthening. Mobility and detection are two sides of the same coin. Croatia has already upgraded its air force and ground systems to make detection meaningful. The Rafale jets in Croatian service are multi-role aircraft capable of rapid interception and strike missions across the Adriatic and inland approaches. Those fighters, combined with early warning radars and NATO integrated air command, reduce the chance an invading force slips through undetected. If aircraft are denied freedom of action, naval task forces find themselves exposed. If naval forces are denied sea control, amphibious landings become a one-way trip. The air and sea picture is tightly interwoven, and Croatia has been investing in both ends of that spectrum. But geography and new weapons are only half the equation. The other half is alliances and logistics networks that scale a small country's defense into regional deterrence. Croatia does not exist in strategic isolation. It is a NATO member, and that membership is not just symbolic. Modern NATO operates a complex web of logistics hubs, prepositioned stocks, liaison elements, and rapid reinforcement plans designed to plug gaps quickly. An attack on Croatia triggers political and military mechanisms that can bring allied air, land, and sea assets into the theater in days, sometimes hours. Reinforcements can stage from nearby bases, ally ports, and airfields across the Adriatic and Central Europe. The math is simple. An aggressor faces not just Croatian defenders, but NATO collective defense planning and logistics capacity. That dramatically raises the cost and the risk of any operation against Croatia. Think about narrow seas and choke points again, but with Allied naval power in the mix. The Adriatic funnels naval traffic into relatively confined spaces. NATO's maritime capacity in the Mediterranean and nearby Atlantic approaches means an invading flotilla would be under constant surveillance and under the threat of interdiction from submarines, surface combatants, and Allied maritime patrol aircraft. Carrier task forces, Allied frigates, and air assets can deny sea lines of communication or hunt landing ships before they reach the shore. That is logistical attrition at sea, and it is devastating to an attacker who cannot sustain a beachhead without a steady flow of supplies. In short, the sea amplifies Croatia's defensive posture because the Allies can project power into those choke points faster than an invader can cover them. Let's not forget the modern battlefield's unsung heroes: drones, electronic warfare, and small unit adaptation. Croatia is acquiring and investing in unmanned aerial systems that excel at reconnaissance, target acquisition, and direct strike. Drones can shadow convoys, call in precision fires, and deny useful observation windows to an attacker. Electronic warfare can blind and confuse command and control, degrading the coordination an invading force depends upon. When combined with locally knowledgeable forces, including reserves and trained territorial units, this creates an asymmetric picture in which smaller, network defenders achieve outsized effects against larger conventional forces. This is a textbook example of denying decisive mass to an invader. Citizen readiness and mobilization are the glue that keeps the defense machine running. Croatia's decision to reintroduce mandatory military training in a modern format is meant to broaden the pool of trained reservists and create a society that can mobilize quickly and efficiently. Basic training for young citizens builds a reserve of personnel who understand communications, first aid, logistics, and light infantry tactics. That matters because the faster a nation can seal its interior and hold key infrastructure, the narrower the windows in which an invasion can succeed. The reintroduction of service increases national resilience and complicates any attacker's timeline. From a logistical planning point of view, an invading force needs staging areas. Where will the ships refuel? Where will the heavy armor offload? Where will the fuel and ammo be stored? Croatia's coastline is dotted with ports, but many of them are shallow or constrained. That means an invader needs larger deep-water ports or secure beachheads. Those are obvious targets for defenders and allies. Meanwhile, inland rail and road networks can be interdicted to prevent the flow of supplies. In the modern era, targeting those nodes with precision-enabled artillery, drones, and airstrikes can halt advances without massive frontal assaults. Croatia's modernization and NATO integration are designed precisely to exploit those vulnerabilities. Let's run a short mental simulation. An adversary attempts an amphibious landing to seize coastal railheads and ports with the aim of pushing inland. The landing is detected by a mix of coastal radars, maritime patrols, and drone observations. Croatian coastal missile boats and Allied naval assets engage and disrupt the flotilla. Rafale fighters scramble to interdict air and sea threats, while HIMARS batteries and artillery target disembarkation points and nearby staging areas. Meanwhile, Croatian territorial units, bolstered by reservists and local forces trained under the new compulsory programs, hit the landing zones with anti-armor weapons and guided munitions. Logistics convoys that manage to land are shadowed by drones and cut off by precision fires on bridges and supply routes. Reinforcements from NATO allies arrive by air and sea, further squeezing the invader. The result is operational paralysis and attrition. This is not fantasy. It is the deliberate integration of geography, systems, and alliances to deny an attacker any sustainable foothold. Another angle where geography bites attackers is cross-border operations. Croatia's borders with Slovenia, Hungary, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Serbia are monitored and easily reinforced by regional partners. Any major land incursion requires securing long border segments against hit-and-run attacks, ambushes, and supply disruption. That increases the invaders' needed troop numbers dramatically, while giving defenders short interior lines to redeploy and concentrate forces. In military planning, you always prefer short interior lines. Croatia's compact depth and ally proximity turn interior lines into a multiplier for defense. One of the most powerful deterrents is the transparency and political cost of aggression. Europe's diplomatic networks, allied intelligence sharing, and immediate economic and political sanctions against aggressors mean that launching an invasion is not just a military gamble. It is a political and economic catastrophe. Allies can choke off resupply chains, freeze assets, and isolate an aggressor even as the defender, aided by NATO, focuses on the battlefield. The combined consequence of military resistance and political isolation is a deterrent in itself. In short, Croatia's geography is not an accident of history. It is a strategic asset. Paired with smart modernization, allied logistics, and national will, it turns the notion of invasion into an expensive, dangerous, and politically disastrous idea. So for anyone thinking about trying their luck on the Adriatic shore, I have one piece of friendly advice. Book a vacation instead. The souvenirs are great, but you will not enjoy the welcome party.